Hello, and welcome back to the Therapy Pages podcast.
Hello.
Today, we are going to be talking about this book, The Untethered Soul, by Michael Singer. So, this book is a number one New York Times bestseller. And I started doing some research, just looking up reviews, and there's so many reviews of people saying this book changed their lives.
Yep. That's one of the I read it. The first time I read it was, oh gosh, it had to be, I don't know, I'm going to say like 10 years ago, maybe even longer. It was a really long time ago. Because people are
Yeah,
saying,
it came out
"Oh,
what
this
in
is like."
2007, I think, right? Yeah, so it's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah. Um People are like, "Oh my gosh, it's such an amazing book." And just like that, like, "Oh, it changed my life." I'm like, "Oh, well, I want to read that." It's not a big book, like it doesn't look imposing.
Yeah.
And I remember leaving that, like this 10-year ago time that I read it, probably, or longer, thinking like, wow, I'm not sure I get what all the hype is. Cause to me, it felt repetitive. Like it felt like he said the same things over and over. So
Mhm.
when, I don't know, when it came up in conversation to review it again or to read it, I'm like, yeah, let me give it another try because so many people love it. And it's,
Yeah.
it changed my life. It really just helped me change perspective. And I don't know, like I get that, but I came away sort of feeling the same way I did the first time.
Okay. So after reading it twice, still the same feelings. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think he has some great points, like we talked about, just a minute ago. Like you don't always have to listen to your thoughts. You can observe them, things like that. But so yeah, we'll get more into it. But it just, I don't know. I'm not sure. And I get the message that he's sending. I
Mhm.
guess it was a delivery for me. So I'm kind of doing my review before we even finish.
Well, we'll do it backwards this time.
Yeah, we'll do it
That's
backwards. But it
spoiler
just, like,
alert.
I was really hoping to get a different take. I thought maybe it was a time in my life, my kids were younger and I was busy but no, it's not.
Yeah, I never read it, but also yeah, a lot of people were telling me to read it, saying that yeah, changed their lives. It's so good. I need to read it. And I think that this is kind of I know personally I been somewhat against like true self-help books, just because I
Mhm.
feel like people will like kind of use them in a way they're not necessarily meant to be used by like maybe not ever seeing a therapist or just reading only self-help books. And
Mhm.
so I was interested in reading it, but also I was kind of skeptical. So I may
Mhm.
have not gone into it the best place. But I agree. I think there were a lot of really good things in this book that I could really relate to. I think a lot of it has been said before by other people, obviously. But there were good points. But I agree. I wouldn't really say it was life changing. So
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting that it is, and I'm glad for the people that this was where they could get their message. And so maybe some people who listen to us, that's how they'll feel. So it's like not dissing the book. It's just I just didn't get it. Do you know? Like I
yeah,
get it. I mean, I get the message, but I didn't get the life changing experience. So, but if
yeah,
people
and
do, hey, I think
great.
this is the language or the way they needed to hear this message. So great.
Absolutely. And we talked in our episode on just some of like our favorite therapy books. And just the idea that books can really hit you different at different parts in your life.
Mhm.
And how sometimes, like you just read a book and you're in that place in your life that it just hits you in just such a great way. So maybe that's a possibility too, maybe. But
Yeah, yeah,
you read it twice, so I guess both
yeah.
times.
I read it twice and I came away feeling very similar. It just felt repetitive. Like it just did feel like even in this book, it could have even been shorter because he was repeating himself
Yeah.
on a lot of things. And maybe again, maybe that was just to really get his point across or to, I don't know. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's not an unpleasant book to read. So
No, definitely not.
I would still recommend it for people.
Yeah, I would too, for sure, recommending it. I think it probably a lot of people could get a lot of help from it. So I think there are
Yeah.
some really good things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so he starts off really strong for me with chapter one. I was kind of hooked at this point because I really appreciated the first chapter called "The Voice Inside Your Head," and
Mm-hmm.
he just talks about our
Mm-hmm.
inner dialogue. And I have seen this in myself and also clients of just how much that inner dialogue can really just like set you up for your day in a negative way if you're just having all of those negative thoughts or that negative inner dialogue. So I
Yeah.
really appreciated that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that is something that at one point or another, I think most people do struggle with. So that
Yeah.
definitely resonated and I think can with a lot of people. And it reminds me, as we are both DBT, informed therapists, it really reminds me of thinking mistakes or in CBT, cognitive distortions, where, we believe what's going on. And he did a really good, uh, uh, well, he showed us a really good way or presented it in a really, I think, easy way that was digestible to like, okay, you don't really have to, that's not you. Like
Yeah.
that's
You do.
separate from you. Yeah.
Separate. Yeah. He says you are not your voice. You are the one who hears it.
Yep. Yep. And
And in
who acts on
DBT,
it, right?
and has right. And in DBT, we talk a lot about how you just are able to recognize that voice and be aware of it through mindfulness skills, and then be
Hmm.
able to change it, right? Or yeah, at some point.
Yeah. And that you do not have to believe everything you think. I mean, that's such a
Yeah.
therapist cliche and it's up
Yeah.
on so many walls, with the inspirational quotes, but it really is true. And I think that brought this to, that we don't have to believe everything we think. And,
Yeah.
like what happens when we do, right? So that's maybe, not very healthy. And it again,
Yeah.
he presented good examples. And I listened to it this time,
Mhm.
which also just had a little bit of a different, delivery. So that part of the book, I really did like. Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. Yes. I think that was all in part one.
Mm,
Was yeah, talking about the voice inside your head, the observer self. I think I
hmm.
could really relate to that. Part two is kind of where he lost me. um, a little bit. But that's okay, right? I mean, again,
Right.
everyone has a different perspective.
Which was part two? That's where more spiritual stuff, or
Yeah, he started talking about energy,
yeah,
which I struggle with that. But you and I were talking a little bit earlier. Is like energy could be just related to like yeah, your your emotional nervous system, right, and that
yes,
interaction. So I forget what section two was called specifically, but again, there were some great things in even in part two, but
yeah,
part two is experiencing energy. Yeah,
okay, yeah. Yeah, and so in our language or how we maybe, our worldview, it would be like, okay, so emotional regulation, or like, so how would energy be redefined? Is it emotions? And is
yeah,
that what's happening? Because certainly emotions present very energetically in the body, right? So nervous system stuff.
yes, yes,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And so he started talking a lot about how to be open, right, and not closed.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I think that is great, and I think he did even talk about this, that I'm always like focused on that dialectics DBT
Yeah.
path is like, okay, yeah, that can be really helpful at times, but if you're just open yourself up to anything and everything, that can start to be really unhealthy too.
Yeah. 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 So do you I guess from a therapy perspective, do you feel like this book in general was validating of
I, I
emotional experience?
I don't think so. That was my other issue with it, and I think coming from like CBT perspective, the cognitive behavioral can sometimes feel invalidating because it's very
Mhm.
focused on, well, this is your thought, so like this is your issue, your
Yeah.
thing to work
Just
on.
get over it, change
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yes, exactly,
Mhm.
right. So I think it can be invalidating in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah. As we're talking about, I didn't think this through. So, what are there like when he talks about that, do you think there could have been some support on how to maybe make it more validating? Like, I think he could have just shifted the language just a little bit.
Just a little, yeah, I think so too, and that's why I just love DBT so much because the language is, like yes, you can change that thought, that perception that you have, whatever
Hmm.
it is. We want to change that, but first we want to validate it, right? Because like all of the
Right.
feelings are valid. So, and I think so many of us, like grew up with invalidation. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to continue to just invalidate those feelings and emotions, it can again lead to not good places. So I do think you're right. Like I think probably the point, would have come across a little bit better if there was just a very small shift, being able to say, hey, like this feeling that you're having, it makes sense, and it's valid,
Mm-hmm.
and you could start there.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, the DBT, skill of wise mind, right? So being
Yeah,
able to observe and describe and then figure out how you're going to, take action or participate, as they say. So I think, and then the what in the how skills off, obviously the how, like non-judgmental, right. So
yes,
I,
hmm,
I think that could have been really helpful
yeah,
in this. And I do think I think because based on other things, I mean, I think non-judgmental stance, it comes through in other places a little bit, but maybe
yeah,
beefing it up there to make it more validating for people who can't just change their thoughts, who can't just like, well, what do you mean I can't believe this? Or what do I think that to just lean on the energy, right, can be,
yeah,
and for people who are more concrete thinkers. So I guess maybe that's where we
hmm,
get into, are these, is this a book for you? Right?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
That was my thought too. I am definitely more of a concrete thinker in a lot of ways, so I think that's also
Mm-hmm.
a reason why I didn't relate as much to this. But he did talk about judgmental stance in the very last chapter, but I think
Mm-hmm.
not in a way of not judging your emotions, but more just like how do you not judge yourself or other people based just on who they are as a person, which is great
Yeah.
and important. But I don't think he talked really at all about not judging the emotion itself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that may have been one of the pitfalls of the book, that it can
Yeah.
feel invalidating of your emotions. And I think,
Mhm.
one thing that I know you and I, because we're DBT, trained, and that's our one of our
One of our
definite
things. Mhm.
theories, right? So that we subscribe to, um, that feelings aren't wrong. Like, this is information, right? So
Yes,
instead of
yes,
like, oh, I don't want to feel this, I think one of the things that we are used to is, well, but wait, what's this telling me, right? So
right.
instead of, this is just not good, don't feel it, more observing your emotions, and
Yes.
and radical acceptance. Do I say radical acceptance every podcast? I feel like I do.
Yes, but it's so important in literally everything, so it's okay. That means a lot. Yep. Yeah,
And go
I'm
ahead.
wondering, like, just how, yeah, as we're talking about DBT, I wonder if Marsha Linehan read this book and what, I'm sure she probably did, but I wonder what her take is on it.
Yeah,
Maybe
we
I should
should
email
email her.
her. What do you
Marsha,
think?
what did you think of this book?
Mhm. I think she would
Yeah,
feel that same way, just the validation piece. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so that, I guess that's because, like, there's these really, like, things like, oh yeah, I get that, I totally subscribe to this, and then it's like,
Mhm.
oh, but like, it just, some of it just fell a little short, like that. So I think it is, yeah, we don't have to believe what we think, but you know these thoughts are coming for a reason, or these feelings are coming
Right.
for a reason.
Yes, they're coming
Yeah.
from somewhere. Yeah. Same with that whole. There was a whole chapter on letting go, and
Yeah.
we talk. Sounds like the Mel Robinson book, right?
Yeah.
Um, but and that's important to be able to let things go. But again, yeah,
Yes.
like doing that work first, like where is this thought coming from? And he does talk about that, like that idea of like, yeah, if you see, a car and it's the specific color and it's making you like angry or frustrated, why is that? And oh, it's because like you've experienced this in another aspect of your life. And how do
Oh, the
you, I
light
guess,
blue Mustang with the girlfriend.
like, yes, and then the with the azaleas, I think
Yeah.
that yes. So, and I
Hmm.
think yeah, that's great. And yes, you can recognize those things. And he's saying, recognize it, be aware of it, and then let it go. I think, at least from what I've read
Hmm.
from it,
Hmm.
which is all great. But I think that there's probably more work into that. And how
Yeah.
many of our clients will come to us and say like, oh yeah, like my mom told me, like just let it go, and like that can feel very invalidating.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
So
Mm.
there's a balance, I guess, is kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I think, again, I think there are good things
Hmm.
to that he brought up, and really good points. And so then, again, as we're talking, the dialogue is making me think more like, okay, some people may have never heard this message at all. So I get
Yeah.
it, right? So I
Hmm.
get
Hmm.
like how it could be life changing. I just feel like there's like significant parts missing, like this, like the
Yeah.
validation
Hmm.
piece, And when he talks
Yeah.
about like resisting emotions, and what's stuck, I think that's good. Or I think, that's a beneficial point, and it could go a little bit further. So not just like, you don't just let it go and okay, stop doing it. It's like, okay, but again, back to what we just said, what is this emotion telling me? Yeah. Yeah. And our resistance to like feeling different things, or, so the idea of stuck. What was it? What chapter was that? Because I just re-listened to that. I think that was in part two.
Yeah, I was
No.
gonna say I feel like part two too. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So, yeah, and I think emotions get stuck for so many different, stuck in quotes, so many different reasons. And I think,
Yeah.
is this book then trauma informed?
Hmm.
Is it grief informed? I don't know. Like, that's again where maybe
Yeah.
it falls a little bit short.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because sometimes people who really do experience like resistance to, um, uh, feeling their emotions, there is significant trauma or
Yeah.
grief, or, something substantial that may have happened that could get in the way. And without knowing that, or without having that lens to look at this and just use what he's saying, it could maybe, compound problems.
Yeah, because imagine, right, if you have had significant trauma and then you're trying to do those things, I can imagine you're just like, well, why can't I do this? Like, what's wrong with
Right.
me that I'm
Yeah.
not able to do this?
And then you're judging yourself, and it
Yeah.
just kind of
Hmm.
like makes it worse and worse. Right. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah. I mean, I think it's a good point. Again, I just feel like it could go a little bit. But for what it is, for self-help, if you're a person who maybe doesn't have significant trauma or something like that, okay, yeah, this could be really, really helpful. And some of
Yes.
these points can be really helpful. It's just, again, there's just a little bit that's missing.
Yes, agreed. And as we talked a little earlier, I think there's just probably better better I guess books out there
Right.
too. Is just my
For
thought. But
for that, yeah, for that
right.
purpose.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I would not say this book was trauma informed.
Yeah, I would agree. Right. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think the chapter I was, then after some of the energy stuff, I started kind of like getting into it a little bit again. But then there was a chapter on just like happiness, and to me, it definitely kind of was going toward the direction of like positive toxicity. But just like he was kind of saying, like, oh, I mean, and I do really feel that having, starting each day with maybe like having a gratuity list, or okay, like I
Mm,
appreciated this in my life, or changing the perspective a little bit, like how can I see this in a maybe more positive way. But you can't just, I think, go through your life just being like, I'm going to be happy and everything is great.
right.
And I did kind
That
of get
was
that.
that was the part of open and close. Was that where he was with that, or no?
And no, I think that was a little bit later in the book. I think
Oh,
it was
okay.
like part three.
Okay.
I will try to find it, but there was a whole section on, oh, the path of unconditional happiness.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think so. That
Okay.
was
That's right.
chapter 15.
Yeah, it was
Um,
towards the end.
yeah, just talking about like if bad things in your life happen, that you can still be happy. Like if your wife
Hmm.
leaves you, or your husband dies, the stock market crashes, your car breaks down. Those things might happen, but if you like walk the spiritual high path, you can still be happy through that.
Right. So you
Yeah,
can, but it's not that
yeah,
simple, right?
it's
I
not
mean,
that simple.
again, it's going back and feeling the feelings, and what is this, this hurts. This is like
Yeah,
it hurts that I'm getting divorced. Even if I wanted the divorce, it hurts. It hurts that I've lost my life savings. What am I going to do? But right,
yeah,
toxic positivity, it's not just like, oh, okay, here we go. We're gonna, I'll go make $1 million back at, whatever. I don't know. But yeah, I think it can oversimplify for sure.
yeah. And it's again like missing that part, like you said, like the, again, validation of the emotion. Like, hey, like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it makes sense that I'm getting a divorce and I feel sad about that. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 So again, could have done a little bit But for what it is, it's, I think it serves a purpose. Again, it's just be careful if you're looking for, if you are experiencing significant trauma and you're looking for this. Like, unlike When Things Fall Apart, I think that was very trauma informed. And I think that she really gave like perspective on
Yeah.
dealing with really difficult times because there was a lot of validation.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. And I think, yeah, I mean, not to say like, yeah, I wouldn't recommend this book, but I think I would probably recommend that one maybe a little bit more, right? Like, depending
Hmm.
where someone is. But yeah, I think, yeah, overall, if you're someone who you just kind of want to learn maybe about how do you come to a place of being able to practice letting go and maybe
Yeah,
some
yeah.
acceptance, some, yeah, that voice inside your head. Like, I think this would probably be a good place to start.
Hmm. Yeah, and in some of the reviews that, well, we both have been reviewing reviews to see what other people are saying about the book. And that was, I saw a lot, I think like you did too, a lot of, wow, this book changed my life. Yeah,
Yeah.
but there were a significant amount of reviews that also said, does it oversimplify trauma? Like it does
Hmm.
it, could it have been, um, you know, more, or if this is what it is, should it have said that, should it have been really clear,
Hmm.
so like, is this a book to turn to when you're in crisis, where there are some books that might be, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously not active suicidality, but like feeling really uncomfortable, is this a book that's going to um be the one that I'd say, oh, hey, when you're having a hard time, look at this? I don't think it would be. I there's a place for it. I just
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so I felt, I guess I felt a little validated seeing some of that in the some of the reviews that I read, because that's exactly how I felt about it. Like, is this really, does it go into enough for people who are dealing with, significant issues? And then there's a whole school of thought, right, that are like, oh, well, trauma is just what you tell yourself it is. And
Yeah.
that's true to an extent.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but there's so much more. Go Flyers. There's so much more to it, right? So
Yeah.
obviously what we tell ourselves impacts us, and how we, our perspective on the experience. Of course, there are some things though that just, and some people, right? So that
Yeah.
just need a little more support and maybe some more tools. I don't know. So,
Yeah, I agree. And so I guess after he wrote this book, he wrote Living Untethered, and then this one, which is The Surrender Experiment. So this is saying my journey into life's perfection. So I thought that one sounded kind of really interesting. So
mm,
it says Michael Singer tells the amazing story of what happened when, after a deep spiritual awakening, he decided to let go of personal preferences and simply let life call the shots.
mm,
So it sounds
okay.
like you just kind of got to a place of surrendering. The events that transpire will challenge your deepest assumptions about life and inspire you to look at your own life in a radically different way. So
Oh,
I
maybe
think
we
I
need
might,
to read that one.
yeah, I feel like that one sounds more interesting. And I guess so. He has a PhD in economics, I think, and then had
Hmm.
a big life spiritual I don't know what change in his life, and then started getting into yoga and
Hmm.
so, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, I wonder if maybe that might be for us,
Right.
maybe something that might hit home a little bit more. But yeah, I don't know.
But
I'd
maybe
be
we should
curious.
do a follow up and read that one,
We
because he
could.
obviously wrote that one more
Yeah.
recently. And,
Hmm.
I think a lot of things maybe have changed since, since he wrote the original one. But
Yeah, I'd be curious to read it. But yeah,
hmm,
so overall, do you have a number? I don't know what I would rate.
I don't know, because I think it's a useful book for a
Yeah.
significant amount of people. But I think uh, my review or my thoughts on it are skewed because I do focus so much on trauma and, people who really need some skills, and like they need, how do I use what's in this book, right? I mean, so I think they
Yes.
need,
Yeah.
they need a little bit more. So I mean, I would, there's people I'd say, yeah, sure, read it.
Hmm.
Again,
Yeah.
there's probably books I'd recommend before that, but so 5 or 6. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not, but it's not a bad book. So then I kind of
No.
feel bad saying 5 or 6.
Well, I guess compared to some of the other books that we read, right? Like
Yeah,
if we have it
yeah,
on that comparison, I mean, like Atlas of the
yeah,
Heart, or even yeah, the one I forget.
yeah.
We've read so many, but even Pema Chodron's book, right? Like,
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah. So I guess on that degree, but yes, it is a good book. I would recommend it. I would say, yeah, read it, but also maybe see a therapist while you're reading it, or read it and read some other books too.
Right. And if you're just now facing trauma that you have never faced, or that, this
Yeah,
isn't the book to pick up, right,
yeah,
right away. You can have this as a support if some of the ideas help, because I do think sometimes the oversimplification in the initial parts of dealing with stuff can be helpful, because
yes,
just because it's quick and almost like easily digestible things to use. I would say I agree with you. Like if you do have significant, trauma or issues that you are just now wanting to deal with, and this is your first thing, do it with a therapist or at least somebody.
yeah, I agree.
So I guess we talked about like what clinically is missing in it.
Mhm.
Are there books that come to mind? I'm trying to think, because now my mind went blank as it does. Like books I should have written down to that come to mind that you would recommend for people, like who's seeking this, like why are people
Mm.
reading this book, right? Why do you pick up The Untethered Soul?
Yeah,
So
that's a good question. I mean, I think like when people think of just, okay, I need to make a change in my life, and I want to
mm-hmm,
start reading like a self-help book.
mm-hmm,
Maybe that's kind of where they would start.
mm-hmm,
Um, and I don't know if necessarily like saying even like starting with DBT might be best for that person specifically,
mm-hmm,
right? Because maybe they don't want to just start. But DBT is a lot, right? Like it's a lot to learn.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Um, so I don't know. I'm thinking of maybe the things you see only when you slow down, right? I mean, even just picking up some things
mm-hmm,
from that book,
mm-hmm.
or just like a basic mindfulness.
That's what yeah,
You
John
know,
Kabat-Zinn came to my
yeah.
mind, like,
Hmm.
mindfulness for beginners, because that's such a, like, I just think that's such an easy introduction to mindfulness, and I just appreciate his writing and his style. So I think he's very accessible for people. So
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking. Like I feel like, and especially if you're reading this book and you have no mindfulness background, that's
Right.
also, you might want to
Hmm.
do that anyway. But yeah, because I think some of his teachings, or what he writes about in this book, really are, some of it's somatic, some of it's what's your internal experience, because he does that a lot. Like, you're not your thoughts, just because you feel this way doesn't mean it's real or true or whatever.
Yeah.
So I do think, practicing even just wise mind, if you just want to look up, the
Yeah.
DBT skill of wise mind, it's on
Hmm.
dbtselfhelp.com, it's all over the place. But even just that, like even just basic mindfulness practice, so that you can
Yeah.
work on quieting this down and listen to, your entire nervous system experience. So,
Yeah. I'm also thinking maybe like Tara Brach. Um,
yes, yeah, yeah.
Or another. I mean, I think I talked a little bit before about how sometimes I don't love books that are just like self help, like the typical self
Yes,
help books. I
yes.
think this would fall into that. Another book that I think would also fall into that, but I think I would probably recommend before this is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Oh yeah, I like that book.
Because
But it was also
yeah,
very simple.
it was,
Hmm.
but I think there was more validation in that book,
I
and
agree.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I now that you brought that up, and I remember seeing that the follow-up book, what's it
yes,
called again?
I
The
forget.
Living something, I don't know, but I think we should read it actually. I think we should see if
Maybe.
because maybe he read the reviews,
Well,
of his own.
there's Living Untethered. So this is Transformative Guide,
Mhm.
and then The Surrender Experiment.
The Surrender Experiment. That's the latest one, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm,
Okay.
maybe we
So we
should.
should, yeah, we should read a follow-up. I don't know. I didn't read did I read the review of, or what, Living Untethered? Is that just putting these things into practice? I mean, maybe
It
that would
seems
give,
like it. It's yeah, a guide, and there's also like I think a journal that goes along with it too,
uh,
which could be helpful, right? So
yeah.
this is saying a transformative guide that offers a crucial reminder that true inspiration, fulfillment, and joy exist with it in each every one of us. See, again, like I don't know. We're just always supposed to be happy and joyful, and that reminded me too
Yeah.
of just emotion regulation and how all of our emotions have a purpose, right? So
Yes.
even
Yeah.
those feelings of anger or sadness, they have a purpose. So we don't
Yeah. What's
always
the
want to
message?
feel, and we always don't
Hmm.
want to feel joy. Like it's great to feel joy, but if we felt joy all of the time, that
Right.
just wouldn't work
Right.
out.
Well, one, we wouldn't be human.
We wouldn't be human. Yes.
So,
So
yeah. Yeah. So we should think about that. Maybe
yeah.
read one of them down the road. I don't know if exactly next, but
Yes. So we have some other ideas maybe for next time.
yeah. Maybe not so much self-help.
Yeah. You know what? It's interesting, right? Because I kind of really appreciated the mental health themes in the books we read that weren't really considered.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the Brief and Wondrous Life.
Yeah.
That just Oscar. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was real. And so many themes were in there. So
Yeah.
I'm ready for another book like that.
Me too. Yeah. We might switch to something like that. Maybe next month or so we'll read the follow up.
Yeah. Do we have I know we've talked a lot about, did we finalize what we're going to be reading next? I don't think
No.
so. Okay.
No.
We have a lot of choices, so we'll post that,
We
I
do.
guess.
Yes.
All right. So any takeaway themes from this that you thought were really helpful?
I think I really like the being aware, practicing mindfulness, but being aware of the voice in your head and that you are not that voice, and you can
Hmm.
take some time to at some point hopefully change, and maybe not even always in a good way, but just to change that voice a little bit, but just the knowledge that we have that inner dialogue, and you can slow it
Hmm.
down. I think with like a mindfulness meditation
Hmm.
practice, but that inner dialogue is not who you are. I think that that reminder of those things that come up for us based upon like past, and you can recognize
Yeah.
that and be able to maybe let it go in some ways. And then the chapter just on I always call it walking the middle path because that's a DBT
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But there was a chapter, I forget what he called
The
it,
middle way or something
the
like that. Is
secret of
that?
the middle way. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I like that too because I do think that is, I mean, and I like the framing of it, the secret of the middle way, because it really, like, people don't think about that. Like in
yeah,
dialectics, um, in DBT, dialectical behavior therapy, like the two things can be true. And it's
yeah,
really like, that's a hard concept for a lot of people, you know?
it is a very hard concept. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think my key takeaway was right in the very beginning, and that was you don't have to believe everything you think. And he really, I mean, he gave a lot of really good examples of that, and I just liked, the way he delivered it. So, I think he sent that message well, and I think the theme was throughout the book, and even through other
Hmm.
things, that it's our
Yeah.
perspective, it's what we, the meaning we put to different things. So, I mean, essentially, that's all your thoughts. And I liked the way um I think it was definitely part one, I think, in some of the first couple chapters of where he was talking about this. But that this dialogue, or this voice, is always running. You just don't necessarily always notice it, and you're not always
Yeah.
paying attention, but you're always, oh, there's I'm on Zoom, or oh, there's a black thing over there, or
Yeah.
where's my dog, or did I leave the dishwasher, empty, whatever, right? So there's
Always.
always like
Hmm.
something running in the background, and I think he did a good he presented that well. So
I agree. Yeah. Agree. Hmm.
yeah, and that was, I mean, that's a really, for me, that was a good takeaway and a good reminder. So yeah. So yeah, I mean, I would recommend it. I just, it definitely wouldn't be the first book for many people, but it would be a book I'd say, hey, take a look at it.
Yeah, check it out. Let us know what you think if you guys have
Hmm.
read it.
And we're going to attach another listener
Yeah.
reflection. So
Yes.
that might, reinforce some of the ideas
Hmm.
about the book and things that we've talked about. So, um, yeah, see what you think.
Yes, let us know. So I think yeah. So we were talking about maybe next episode is doing something more just therapy related,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
maybe have a little bit of switch. We're still definitely going to read books, but having a little bit of switch of adding in some more therapy things. So
Yeah. Well, and like we talked about, like all these on social media and
yes,
elsewhere, all these therapists are just doing different, becoming influencers or trying to become influencers. And it's like, what is going on? Um,
yeah,
and the trends, I have to say it, I know, but the drinking water or drinking during session, I
yes.
just think that's hysterical that is like I had never even thought about that being an issue.
No, me
And
neither.
then I saw this reel and I was like, wait, that's a problem. Like every therapist that I know has like a water bottle, a coffee cup, and maybe something else, right? And maybe like a kombucha or a tea or something, right?
Yes. Hmm.
And I'm like, wow, is that really? Because I wouldn't feel any kind of way about, my therapist drinking or,
No, me neither. And I would want all of my clients to feel comfortable to drink whatever they want,
yeah.
in our session too. And I actually interviewed at a place a long time ago, and they made it very clear that you could only drink water, in session, nothing
Hmm.
else. You couldn't have coffee, soda, like any of those things. They were,
Really?
promoting wellness. Yeah, so you were only allowed to drink water in session. And I was
Oh,
just like, oh, I do not want to work here. I could not work here.
no.
I wonder if that's still the case. But yeah, I found it so interesting. And not only that idea, but that other therapists will like come in and say, oh, yeah, I would never, like drink in
Yeah.
session.
That
Like,
just
what?
I would love to have conversation. So if people are
Yeah.
listening and have thoughts on this, we'd love to talk more about
Yes.
it.
Let
Because
us know.
I don't think it breaks the therapeutic flow. I mean, sure, if you're in the middle of something like really, really deep and you're like, oh, let me get my water, right? I mean, that's different. But, you know,
Yeah.
I, I just don't, I don't know. And I honestly was shocked. And I
Me
was
too.
also, I found myself being really self conscious about drinking.
Yes. Yeah, but it's, I
And
mean,
like,
it's part of taking care of yourself.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there were some comments like, well, you don't know what they're drinking. You don't like what's in those bottles or those cups. Like, are they drinking wine? Or are they, I mean, and then, okay, I get that. Like, that's not appropriate. Although I know there's people who probably do think it's okay and
Yeah.
consume, I don't know. But yeah, I don't think that's, yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So yeah, we were just talking about it would be fun, to maybe just talk about some of those things since I feel like
Mm-hmm.
things are so different than I've definitely when I first started, becoming a therapist, and for you too. So like
Yeah.
I think it would be fun. And we were also talking about maybe, well, I think we're going to create an email address, that you guys
Mm-hmm.
can send us questions. So any
Yeah.
questions maybe that you've always wanted to ask, just about, it can be about therapy, it can be therapeutic techniques,
Mm-hmm.
it can be about like those things, like, is it okay to like eat during session or whatever, any question that you have,
Right.
or yeah, any like topics that are coming up for you. So I think that'd be really fun too. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Make it a dialogue. So
yes.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, so there'll be some change. We're still going to be books, right? I mean, we're still going to
Yes.
do books, but we're going to also
Yes.
do other things.
Yes, yeah. Or if you have a book that you have read and you feel like,
Yeah.
hey, we want to know what our thoughts are. If anybody wants to know what our thoughts are,
Yeah. I
let us
have
know.
to say, since we started this, I mean, this is our 16th book, but I have so many books on my bookshelf in my office that I want to read that this is like, except for, I mean, obviously I read this one again, but they're like, this is really helping me to read
Yes,
my, to read list. Like, I love this.
yes, me too. Yes, it's good motivation.
It really is. And then we have this time limited thing that we have to do it in a certain amount of time. So, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that helps.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so we'll let you know. I mean, for now, if you're on Facebook, you can send us a message on Facebook,
Yeah. And
and just with your
Instagram,
questions.
because we have the
Or
Instagram
Instagram, yeah,
page too.
yep, either of those, or even our YouTube account, Spotify, whatever. You
Mm-hmm.
can send us a message and let us know if there's a question that you want us to
Yeah.
talk about, and we
Yeah.
will let you know our email address. So,
Yeah. Or bodycounselinggroup.com. So
yeah, right.
you can email us each directly on there just by clicking under our link,
Yes.
um, under our bios. So you can just click contact me or email me. I don't remember what the little box says,
So,
but yeah, so that's another way um, to reach us because that's where we are.
yes, that's where we are. So, yeah, so we'll keep you
uh,
updated. We'll let you know what we're gonna read next. Um,
yep.
and if you have any questions or any therapy topics you want us to talk about.
Yep. And go Flyers.
Go Flyers! Oh my gosh, it's so exciting.
Is this the first time they're going to be in the playoffs in a while or no?
2018 they got into the first round and then lost. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, but it
so
looks like this might be a shutout. So,
I
right?
think
Because it's
so.
3-0, right?
Rio, yes, yep.
All
So
right.
we'll see what happens on Saturday. But yes, go
Yeah.
Flyers.
All right.
So thanks for listening,
Yep.
and we'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye.